Ross Leffler School of Conservation was the first school of conservation in the United States. This school ran from 1936 to 1986. Why was this school needed? When the Game Commission started in 1895 in Pennsylvania, there was unregulated hunting, and many of the wildlife populations were quickly dying off or disappearing altogether. Overharvesting, illegal taking, indiscriminate hunting, and the game officers, it was really risky for them. It was dangerous, and there were specific laws being developed to try and direct the game conservation, but no real training facility was devoted to this training. So there was a need for a facility or a school. They needed to learn wildlife management, natural history of wildlife, game laws and regulations, law enforcement principles and methods, land management, public relations, conducting wildlife surveys, educational classes and lectures, hunting safety courses to teach others, and we could go on. There's a myriad of things that they needed to learn and develop. The game school, as it became locally known, is located in Snyder Township, Jefferson County, Pennsylvania. It's just outside of BROCKWAY, Pennsylvania. What did the school comprise of? Well, in 1910, the building, which actually eventually became the school building, was constructed as a hunting lodge for a fancy Pittsburgh lawyer. He used it as a summer home. In 1929, the building and 925 acres of the surrounding land were purchased by the Pennsylvania Game Commission to start something that was the first game school in the United States of America. So some building changes in 1932 took place, and this brought it into the service as a training facility where they would use it for 1-week refresher courses from time to time, but it was not full-time. Finally, in 1936, it became the full-time training center. Initially, 36 candidates entered the program, and 27 emerged after successfully completing about 8 months of training. In the end, 19 classes circulated through this school. Next came the actual classroom building that was actually built in 1941, and then other buildings came about along the way for new and improved purposes. A historical marker stands at the entrance to the old game school, and the inscription reads, "Within State Gamelands 54 is the original site of the first academy in the nation devoted entirely to the training of game protectors, later known as the Wildlife Conservation Officers. Established in 1932, it was an important component of the professionalism of game management in Pennsylvania. It was named for Ross L. Leffler, a 30-year member of the Game Commission and assistant So let's look at the impact of the school. It was successful, highly successful. It turned out some of the best officers, and soon the school became a model for other game schools which opened across the country, and they used the same class structure. So in 1986, the final class graduated from the Ross Leffler Game School in BROCKWAY, and the new candidates would enter into the school at Harrisburg in the following year. 1987, the buildings were demolished. So what buildings existed in all? Bunkhouse, classroom, got the parking lot, which is still in place, old pistol range, and there's a new pistol range still in the area. Equipment shed, a barn, a spring house and hatchery, and of course you saw the Manor Run Dam in the video. Then there was the administrator's house and rifle range. So one building remains, and that's the maintenance building or the shed house. Other remnants such as rampway leading to the old barn, cement pads throughout the areas in the woods where the buildings and structures once stood, a few stone walls remaining within the woods, and of course the entrance and exiting stone walls. And that's pretty much it. Yes, there's some additional oddities in the landscape, but it's always a very unique challenge to picture it now as it appeared then. We use that little map of the gamelands now. Oh, listen to that change in diction from game school to gamelands. Now I want to say that comes easy for me because I came from a time after the game school era. Any local graybacks or silverbacks that you're going to run into are always going to refer to that area as game school. The future holds protected gamelands number 54. With game animal populations expanding and having a safe and secure and proper habitat for living. That's what remains. It was wildlife and nature that those 427 game conservation officers vowed over all those 50 years in the game school. They vowed to protect and conserve that nature. Let's say a big cheers to those individuals and thank you for your service. In 1986, the last class ventured out into the wild world, and it was the end of this chapter. 427 officers graduated from game school in BROCKWAY. What happened after the close? Well, the Ross Leffler School of Conservation continues to this day in Harrisburg, PA. Cheers to all of those who have served as conservation officers over the years, and thank you very much.